Hello and welcome to the second video of module 5, which is motion and titles. In this video we are going to mix a few of the topics that are supposed to be in this module to create a text animation. We find it favorable to mix these things together because they have to be blended together when you're actually doing them in real life. So these things as listed in the module are keyframes and motion control, dynamic effects which are scale, rotation and position, and the last one is intro and outro animations. We are going to create a text animation that uses all of these things together so that we can have something cohesive. Even though the videos were listed as separate topics, it will be more helpful to you if you can see them done in action as one long step. Now to do this, I need you to install After Effects. Go to the download and install video and get After Effects. If you're on MacBook, there is also a link to a version for MacBook. Install After Effects using the same procedure that we used while installing Adobe Premiere Pro. The first thing I want us to do in these steps is to create what we call an adjustment layer. If you move over to your project panel here and you click on this, you'll get a drop down that has an option for an adjustment layer. Just click on it and press OK. I am going to name this text. Just name it text. Left click it, hold it and drag it and drop it on your timeline. I'm going to push mine to the start because that is where I want my text to appear. Now it is helpful to pace how long your texts are going to appear or your titles are going to appear. For this specific video, I want my titles to appear at the start. So let me count.
Hiyo course unafanya campus. It is not the end point. It is just a gateway.
Actually, up to that point, that is enough. This is how long we are going to animate our texts. Now that we have this adjustment layer here and you have installed After Effects, right click on that adjustment layer and you will get this option for replace with After Effects composition. Click on it and it will direct you to After Effects, and we are off to a good start. Something to note here, if you get this disclaimer here, just press caps lock and it will disappear. Another Adobe software, and this one might sound intimidating at first when you ask people what it does, but it is not that intimidating. We are introducing it to you at a very basic level so that usipotee, hatutaki upotee uogope hii maneno. So we are only using it for texts. In our composition window, we have the dimensions of the video that we have in Premiere Pro. Premiere Pro has connected After Effects and we can do things in After Effects and those changes will take effect in Premiere Pro. We are adding text. Here is our text tool. Very similar to any other software you move to. It will always be a letter. So just click on this and type on top of the window that you've been provided that has the dimensions of your video. Let me type here, learn. This seems to already have a color set to it. You can press Ctrl A, go to the color and set it to whatever color you want. I'm going to set mine to white. I am also going to move to this side of After Effects where you will find text. If you do not find this text panel, you can locate it under window and under character. Let me change my text here to something like Montserrat. I think Montserrat works good. So let me also type this well, learn. And we have text on our screen. Let us align it to the center of the screen. If you move over to the right side of your screen, you will get this panel that is called Align. It has this, Align horizontally. Click on that. You also have another one that is Align vertically. You can click on that. So this positions your text dead center on the screen. Up to this point, I want you to press Ctrl S on your keyboard. If there is a pop-up window that asks you to save your project, just save it and then go over to Premiere Pro and you will find that your text is on top of your video. Let us go back to After Effects again. Let me lower the position of this text. Move over to this panel here. This is a selection tool. Similar to Premiere Pro, the shortcut is V. Just press V and you can drop it, slightly drop it. So we are doing this at a very basic level so that you do not miss anything. Save again, Ctrl S, and you can go back to Premiere Pro and you'll see that that change is happening there. Let me drop it further, Ctrl S. That is a good area to have our titles. Let us go back to After Effects. Now we have one text here. This is learn. Let me duplicate the same text with the same features. The duplicate function in After Effects is Ctrl and D. Just use that and then you will notice here we have layers. We have the original text layer and then we have the learn layer and then learn 2, which is the duplicate. If you just click on top of it and drag down, there is a layer that is hidden underneath the first one. So double click on this layer and just type, let me write upscale. Control S. Be very patient with yourself as you're doing this. Go back to Premiere Pro. We have that change happening there. Go back to After Effects. Within After Effects again, let us duplicate this layer again. Control and D. We have a second upscale layer. Let me just left click here, drag down, and then to change the wordings on this text layer, double click and just type grow. So we have 3 text layers. Let us start with something very basic within animation, which is just animating the positions of this text. I want you to click on the first layer, then hold shift and go to the last layer, then click on the last layer. We have selected all of those 3 layers. So here is the trick. The position we are currently in, which is the start of this timeline, is where we want the text to be before we play the video. And then after a few frames, we want the text to be in this position. So we will animate the original position, which is going to be under the screen. And then we are going to move a few frames ahead and we are going to animate the text here. We mark these positions using what we call keyframes. Press P on your keyboard. You will get these drop downs within all of this. Just click on this function here that says time vary stopwatch. It will create a keyframe. Keyframe are these position markers here. So after 3 frames, which is 1, 2, 3. After 3 frames, our texts are supposed to be here. But when the video is starting, we want them to be here. So you just grab them and drop. Just left click, hold and drag down. And then you can play using your spacebar. Look at that. So the texts are coming from under the screen and onto the screen. Press S, go back to Premiere Pro. Check that change. Go to the start of your video and play.
Hiyo kosa unafanya campus.
We have our first animation. Let us go back to After Effects. We can make this interesting by offsetting the positions of these layers themselves. So all you have to do is click on this layer and move it slightly ahead. Click on the third layer and move it slightly ahead. Let us play. They are stacking themselves from the bottom. Ooh, very interesting. Did you see that? So Control S, go back to Premiere Pro. Check.
Hiyo kosa unafanya campus.
Again.
Hiyo kosa unafanya campus.
Let us go back to After Effects. Pole too. We can add something we call motion blur to these layers so that they are not so bricky. They look like bricks. So when I'm scrolling through this timeline, can you see how bricky they are? And also between this animation keyframe and this other one, it is just very choppy. Now what does motion blur do? Motion blur adds extra steps in between those positions. So how do you add motion blur? Again, go to the first layer, press shift, go to the last layer and click on that layer and then come to this function here called motion blur and then just click on it. That will add motion blur to all of them. So I want you to observe what is happening in between those layers. We have some blurriness in between those layers. And when we are moving from one position to another position, it is just blurry. Let us look at that. Again. Control S, go back to Premiere Pro and just play.
Hiyo kosa unafanya.
Again.
Hiyo kosa unafanya.
Again.
Hiyo kosa unafanya.
Very interesting. They look as if they have a cascading effect. Zinakuja kama zimefuatana mbio mbio. Now we can make this smoother by adding what we call an easy ease. We want these keyframes to ease into each other. Now if you right click on them and then you move over to this function called keyframe assistant, you'll find easy ease, which is F9, easy ease in, which is Shift plus F9, and then we have easy ease out, which is Control Shift plus F9. You can add one of these to each of the opening keyframes. Hold Control and Shift and click on each one of them, and then right click, go to Keyframe Assistant and use an easy ease in. Let us see what that will do. Very smooth. So we are adding extra smoothness to these keyframes. What about these ones that are the out keyframes? Click on the first one, Control Shift on your keyboard, click and click, then right click on them, go back to Keyframe Assistant and then use an easy ease out. Click on them and then just play. So the keyframes will ease into each other and it looks much more smoother. Now, my personal preference is usually to just use the easy ease. I select all of my keyframes, right click and then go to Keyframe Assistant and use an easy ease. The shortcut for that is F9. So let's just use the shortcut F9 on our keyboard. So let's watch again. So we have managed to animate the position of this text from the start to the third frame here. Now you can just move through the frames with your mouse. How about we get to this point, which is the end of this composition, and we want them to go back to where they were, which was underneath the screen. So let me count 3 frames from here. This is 1, 2, and 3. If you have a problem with your mouse wheel, you can use page down and page up on your keyboard. Those are the keys that are above the up, down, left, and right buttons on your keyboard. So PD, PU. So 1, 2, 3. So how do we approach adding keyframes to this position? I want you to consider this. These texts are coming from underneath the screen, and then they are being animated onto the screen. And then from this position up to this position here, they are staying within this area. They are not moving. So we need to add a static keyframe. How do we do that? After selecting all of your text, go to this one here that says add or remove keyframe at current time. So just click on all of them and keyframes are added here. So that means from this position, when we had our last text up to this position, there is no change. There is no animation happening here. But from this position here to this position, we want to animate the text out of the screen. So we have a few options here that we can use, but the best one is usually to copy the keyframes. This keyframe here, if you check like this one for grow, this is the position that text is before it comes onto the screen. So you can copy it, Control C on your keyboard, then come to this position and paste it, Control V. So we will move from this position and the text will go back. Let's do the same for this word here. So click on the first keyframe. That keyframe was when that text was underneath the screen. So Control C, copy it, and then move to the end and Control V to paste it. Let's do the same for this learn text. So at the start of the animation, it was underneath the screen. This is the keyframe. Control C, go to the last one, Control V. Let us offset them the same way we offset these ones. Select these keyframes and these keyframes using left mouse, hold and drag, push them slightly ahead, and then let's play. So the same way they came onto the screen is the same way they are going back underneath the screen. So let's go back to Premiere Pro and see how this looks. Back to Premiere Pro, go to the start and play.
Hiyo course unafanya campus, it is not the endpoint, it is just a gateway. Ukienda campus, you're just looking.
And they go back to their initial position. Let me just play that again for you.
Hiyo course unafanya campus, it is not the endpoint, it is just a gateway. Ukienda campus.
So we have animated the position of this text to come in from underneath the screen to the position they're supposed to be in, and then go back to the same positions. So that is how you animate position in After Effects. So let us animate something else, which is scale. So if you select all of your layers here, same way we selected them before using Control and Shift, and then just clicking on all of them, press scale to add a keyframe. I want us to move this keyframe to around the area when this text all appear on the screen. So at this point, they have not all appeared. At this point, they are starting to appear. This point we have 2. This point we have almost 3, and then 3. This is the scale we want this to be at this position. Let us add some animation. Let us move down the timeline using PD, 1, 2. And then let us increase the scale. By default, the scale is usually set to 100 for all parameters. Just increase this to something like, let's just increase it to something like 110. And then let's move down the timeline a little bit and copy the keyframes as we did in the other one. Control C, Control V. To the second layer, Control C, Control V. To the other layer, Control C, Control V. So left click, hold and drag and press F9. Remember, we already have our motion blur here. So let's see what this is going to do. Did you see that popping effect that looks like it's growing and then shrinking? Look at it again. So when all of the text arrive on the screen, they have a small scaling up, which is like simply growing, and then they go back to their original size. How can we make this interesting? Let us offset the scaling. So for these 2 layers, I want them to come after this first layer. So I'm going to select all of this, left click, hold and drag, move this slightly, and then go to this one, select, move it slightly. So we are just offsetting them so that they do not scale at the same time. So let's play through this. Did you see that? They are growing at different times. We can emphasize this by increasing this difference. So let me just time. The first keyframe here goes to the second one, and on this one, the first keyframe goes to the second one of the bottom layer. Let's play. So that emphasizes that growing effect, that scaling effect. Control S, go back to Premiere Pro and watch.
Hiyo course unafanya campus.
And watch.
Hiyo course unafanya campus.
Very nice. Just for the sake, let's use the long route. So this is learn. Remember to align them, center. You can duplicate that one using Control D. Press V to go back to your selection tool. Left click and drag down to reveal that other layer. This one is upscale. Again, click on upscale, Control D to duplicate. Press V for your selection tool. On that upscale layer, just click and drag down. Type grow. Move over to your effects presets. Again, under organic, grab Quiver, drop it on any layer here. You can drop it on all of these layers. Let's drop it on all of these layers. Left click, hold and drag. Let's see what Quiver does. Ooh, your texts are dancing. They have some movement. This might be very hard to try and animate, but having that effect there can add some life to that text. Try out all of these other text animations and see what they're going to do to your text, and remember to press Ctrl S so that you can view the changes in Premiere Pro. I will see you in the next video.